Hi Reddit. I'm Lawrence, 53, and before you ask, yes, my son gave me full permission to tell this story. He said, hell, if it helps someone else dodge a bullet, go for it. My son, Nate, he's 25 now. At the time, he was 24, madly in love, and 3 weeks away from marrying a girl we all thought was golden. Her name was Ava. Polite, sweet, the kind of girl who baked cookies for Thanksgiving and laughed at all my terrible dad jokes. We welcomed her into the family without a second thought. You probably think you know where this is going. Trust me, you don't. I didn't either. I was just the proud dad helping my son prep for the biggest day of his life. Ava's bachelorette party was supposed to be low-key. That's what they told Nate. Dinner, drinks, some karaoke. No strippers, no Vegas trip, nothing crazy. That's what we all believed. Me, my wife, my daughter, even Nate's groomsmen. Hell, Nate even gave her extra cash for the night, said, have fun, you deserve it. You have no idea how wrong we all were. 2 days after the party, Nate was off. I knew my son well enough to spot it immediately. He wasn't talking much. Kept looking at his phone like he expected it to explode. I asked him if everything was okay. He forced a smile and said he was just nervous about the wedding. Bullshit. I didn't push, though. I figured it was wedding jitters. If only it had been that simple. 3 nights later, everything blew up. Nate showed up at our house, 1 a.m., banging on the door like a madman. He looked wrecked, eyes red, knuckles bleeding like he'd punched a wall. We sat him down, shoved a beer in his hand, and waited. Took him a good 10 minutes to finally get out. One of his friends, Jason, had been at a club the same night as Ava's low-key party. Jason's girlfriend dragged him there for a friend's birthday. And guess who he saw? Not just Ava. Ava grinding all over some random guy, like she didn't even remember she was engaged. At first, Jason thought, maybe it's harmless. Maybe she's just drunk and dancing. Then he saw her kiss the guy. And not a drunk little peck either. Full-on make-out session right there in the middle of the dance floor. Jason took photos. He didn't even think. He just whipped out his phone and snapped a few because he couldn't believe his eyes. And 3 days later, after going back and forth about whether to tell Nate, Jason finally sent the pictures. My son didn't just lose a fiancée that night. He lost the life he thought he was about to start. And believe me, Reddit, this is only the beginning. What happened next made that kiss look like child's play. You're not even ready. Nate sat there, beer untouched, staring at the floor like it might give him some kind of answer. My wife kept asking, are you sure? Maybe it's not what it looks like. God bless her for trying. But I looked at the pictures myself. There was no misunderstanding. Ava had her hands all over the guy like Nate didn't even exist. Finally, Nate spoke. She lied about everything, he said. His voice cracked halfway through, and that scared the hell out of me. Nate's tough. He's been through some rough shit. Broke his arm in college football, got mugged once in Chicago, and he never cried. Not once. But sitting there that night, he wasn't my grown son anymore. He was a broken kid who just had his whole future ripped out from under him. He told us he texted Ava after seeing the photos. Nothing crazy, just asked how the party went, tried to keep it casual. She replied, so much fun. Can't wait to tell you all about it. That's when Nate realized she wasn't just guilty. She thought she got away with it. He didn't confront her immediately. He wanted to think, plan. He didn't want to blow up his whole life based on a few drunk photos, even though deep down, he knew exactly what he saw. The next morning, Nate called Ava. He said he wanted to meet up, grab breakfast, just the two of them. She agreed, all cheery, like nothing was wrong. Now, here's the part you won't believe. I sure didn't. Nate didn't mention the photos at breakfast. He just listened. Ava went on and on about how she missed him, how she couldn't wait to be his wife, how last night had been crazy but harmless. Harmless. Meanwhile, Nate sat there, phone in his pocket, with evidence that she'd been tongue-wrestling some dude while wearing her freaking engagement ring. He kept it together somehow. Paid the bill. Walked her to her car. Gave her a kiss on the forehead like nothing was wrong. Then he drove straight to Jason's house. They spent 4 hours digging. Jason and a couple of the other guys started making calls, pulling Instagram stories, Snapchat screenshots, whatever they could find. If Ava had done that once, she probably wasn't new to it, and Nate needed to know everything before he burned everything down. And man, what they found. It made that first set of photos look like a damn Disney movie. Turns out Ava's whole group of bridesmaids, they'd all been involved. The bachelorette party was basically an undercover hookup fest. 3 of them had guys hanging all over them. One of them even posted a Snapchat story for about 30 seconds before deleting it, of Ava and the same guy grinding in a VIP booth, drinks in hand, no shame whatsoever. And it gets worse. One of Jason's buddies, who bartended at that club, recognized Ava immediately. And he didn't just recognize her from that night. He told Jason straight up that she and that guy had been there before. Multiple times. You think it ends there? Oh no. Reddit, this mess was just getting started. Nate didn't come home that night. Neither did Jason. They stayed up till sunrise, pulling everything they could off social media, calling everyone who might know something, piecing the whole thing together like a crime scene. At 7 a.m., Nate showed up at our house again. Same clothes, no sleep, eyes bloodshot. He dropped his phone on the kitchen table and just said, "You need to see all of it." I sat down and started scrolling. Videos, screenshots, messages. There was one clip where Ava, in her little white bride-to-be sash, was sitting in some guy's lap, giggling, feeding him shots straight into his mouth. Her friends were in the background, yelling and laughing like it was the funniest thing ever. Another video from someone else's Instagram story caught her whispering in the guy's ear. He put his hand on her thigh under the table. She didn't even flinch. This wasn't a drunken mistake. This was premeditated. Ava knew what she was doing every second. She didn't care who saw it. She didn't think she'd ever get caught. And you know what? If it weren't for Jason being at that club completely by accident, she probably wouldn't have. You think it couldn't get uglier? Hold on to your seats. Jason's bartender buddy said the guy Ava was hooking up with wasn't random. He was her ex, from 2 years before she met Nate. Apparently, he used to work at that club, and now he was just a regular there, and Ava had been bumping into him for months without ever telling Nate. You're probably thinking, why didn't anyone say anything sooner? Good question. The short answer, lies. Ava had told her friends Nate was too jealous and too controlling. She made it sound like Nate didn't let her have male friends, that he was some kind of insecure jerk. So when her friends saw her cozying up to her old friend during her nights out, they didn't think much of it, or they pretended not to. Meanwhile, Nate, who is the chillest, most trusting guy you'll ever meet, never said a word about who she could or couldn't hang out with. He trusted her, fully, and that trust, she used it like a weapon against him. When Nate finally finished showing me everything, he just sat back and said, "What the hell do I do now?" Because here's the thing, the wedding was paid for, non-refundable deposits, guests flying in from 3 different states, rehearsal dinner scheduled in 4 days, marriage license already filed. Canceling wasn't just going to be messy, it was going to be a nuclear bomb. But you know what's worse than calling off a wedding? Living a lie for the rest of your life. And my son? He wasn't about to let some fake fairy tale trap him forever. He just needed a plan that would blow it all up in the most unforgettable way possible. And trust me, Reddit, the way he chose to do it, no one saw it coming. Nate didn't waste time. The second he left our kitchen, he started making calls. First, he rang the venue, explained there was a personal emergency, and asked if there was any way to push the wedding by a few weeks. They said it would cost a fortune and there were no open dates anyway. Basically a polite no. Perfect. Exactly what he wanted. Then he called his best man, Tyler, pulled him into the whole mess. Tyler was furious. He'd never liked Ava much, said she was too fake, but he kept his mouth shut for Nate's sake. Now he was ready to help Nate burn it all down. And here's where it gets good. Nate didn't just want to cancel the wedding quietly. No, he wanted Ava exposed. Publicly. In front of every single person who thought she was the perfect bride. The plan was risky, but brilliant. The night before the wedding, we had a rehearsal dinner booked at a nice restaurant. Family, close friends, bridal party, about 60 people. Ava's parents, her cousins, everyone who mattered. Nate decided he wasn't going to call it off beforehand. He was going to show up, smile, pretend everything was normal. And then, right when everyone was feeling cozy, he was going to drop the bomb. You're probably wondering, was he scared? Yeah, of course. He was about to nuke not just his relationship, but a whole web of connections, friendships, memories. But after everything he saw, after realizing Ava had been playing him for months, maybe longer, he wasn't backing down. He spent the next 2 days gathering everything. Every video, every screenshot, every text thread Jason and the others had pulled. Organized it all into a PowerPoint presentation. I'm not kidding, a damn PowerPoint. With titles, dates, timestamps, everything. He even had the bartender's statement printed out, just in case someone tried to accuse him of faking it. Meanwhile, Ava had no clue. None. She texted him about seating charts and honeymoon packing lists like nothing had happened. Nate responded to every message like a pro. Can't wait, babe. So excited to spend forever with you. It made me sick watching it, but it had to be done. The night of the rehearsal dinner finally came. Everyone showed up dressed to the nines, grinning, clinking glasses, talking about how perfect Nate and Ava were together. Meanwhile, Nate was sitting at the head table, cool as ice, a tiny flash drive in his pocket that was about to blow the whole fairy tale to hell. When the appetizers were served, Nate stood up, tapped his glass with a knife, and said, "Hey everyone, before we eat, I just want to share a little something about Ava and I. About our journey together." People clapped. Ava blushed. She had no idea she was standing on a landmine. And believe me, Reddit, when Nate hit play, all hell broke loose. Nate didn't waste time. The second he left our kitchen, he started making calls. First, he rang the venue, explained there was a personal emergency, and asked if there was any way to push the wedding by a few weeks. They said it would cost a fortune and there were no open dates anyway. Basically a polite no. Perfect. Exactly what he wanted. Then he called his best man, Tyler. Pulled him into the whole mess. Tyler was furious. He'd never liked Ava much, said she was too fake, but he kept his mouth shut for Nate's sake. Now he was ready to help Nate burr it all down. And here's where it gets good. Nate didn't just want to cancel the wedding quietly. No, he wanted Ava exposed. Publicly. In front of every single person who thought she was the perfect bride. The plan was risky, but brilliant. The night before the wedding, we had a rehearsal dinner booked at a nice restaurant. Family, close friends, bridal party, about 60 people. Ava's parents, her cousins, everyone who mattered. Nate decided he wasn't going to call it off beforehand. He was going to show up, smile, pretend everything was normal. And then, right when everyone was feeling cozy, he was going to drop the bomb. You're probably wondering, was he scared? Yeah, of course. He was about to nuke not just his relationship, but a whole web of connections, friendships, memories. But after everything he saw, after realizing Ava had been playing him for months, maybe longer, he wasn't backing down. He spent the next 2 days gathering everything. Every video, every screenshot, every text thread Jason and the others had pulled. Organized it all into a PowerPoint presentation. I'm not kidding, a damn PowerPoint. With titles, dates, timestamps, everything. He even had the bartender's statement printed out, just in case someone tried to accuse him of faking it. Meanwhile, Ava had no clue. None. She texted him about seating charts and honeymoon packing lists like nothing had happened. Nate responded to every message like a pro. Can't wait, babe. So excited to spend forever with you. It made me sick watching it, but it had to be done. The night of the rehearsal dinner finally came. Everyone showed up dressed to the nines, grinning, clinking glasses, talking about how perfect Nate and Ava were together. Meanwhile, Nate was sitting at the head table, cool as ice, a tiny flash drive in his pocket that was about to blow the whole fairy tale to hell. When the appetizers were served, Nate stood up, tapped his glass with a knife, and said, "Hey everyone, before we eat, I just want to share a little something about Ava and I. About our journey together." People clapped. Ava blushed. She had no idea she was standing on a landmine. And believe me, Reddit, when Nate hit play, all hell broke loose. For 2 days, it was dead silent. No calls, no texts, nothing. Nate started to think maybe Ava was too humiliated to even try anything. Maybe, finally, she'd just crawl away and let it die. He was wrong. So wrong. On the 3rd day, it started. First, it was a Facebook post from Ava's account. Long, dramatic, fake as hell. She claimed Nate had emotionally abused her for years. Said he was manipulative, controlling, isolated her from her friends. that she had called off the wedding because she finally found the courage to leave. Total horseshit. Anyone who actually knew Nate or knew the real timeline wasn't buying it. But random acquaintances, distant relatives, and people from Ava's side who hadn't been at the rehearsal dinner, they ate it up. "You're so brave, Queen. Sending you love. You deserve better." I always knew something was off about him. It made me sick. Nate wanted to ignore it at first. He said, "I don't owe anyone an explanation." And he was right. But the internet doesn't work that way. The rumors started spreading fast. People he hadn't talked to in years were messaging him, asking, "Bro, what happened? Did you really?" By the end of the week, Nate's name was dirt in half the town. And Ava wasn't done. She sent her bridesmaids, the same ones who partied with her that night, to trash Nate online too. They posted vague crap like, "You never know what happens behind closed doors," and "Good riddance to fake love." Meanwhile, Ava started popping up everywhere Nate used to go. She accidentally showed up at his favorite coffee shop, ran into his friends at bars, even tried to corner Jason once outside his gym, crying and begging him to talk to Nate for her. It was insane. Nate kept his head down, focused on work, hit the gym, hung out with a tight circle of friends who actually knew the truth. But every time he started to feel like he could breathe again, Ava pulled another stunt. The worst came 2 weeks later. Nate got a call from his boss, corporate HR. Someone had sent an anonymous email to Nate's company, accusing him of harassment. No details, no evidence, just enough poison to trigger an investigation. He almost lost his job. We knew exactly who was behind it. There were only 2 people who hated him that much, Ava and one of her bridesmaids, who just so happened to have a cousin in the same field Nate worked in. He was furious. We all were. But instead of losing his mind, Nate did the smartest thing he could have done. He lawyered up, got a defamation lawyer, gathered all the evidence, the wedding night PowerPoint, Ava's fake Facebook posts, the timestamps proving he hadn't even been near her after the breakup. He fought it clean, professional, didn't stoop to her level. And when Ava realized she couldn't destroy him the easy way, she escalated even harder. Next thing we knew, she showed up at our front door. And what she brought with her almost tore our whole family apart. It was a Saturday afternoon. I was out back fixing the damn lawnmower when I heard the doorbell hammering like someone was trying to break it off. I came around the side of the house, and there she was, Ava, hair a mess, sunglasses on, wearing some ratty sweatshirt that wasn't hiding the crazy in her eyes. My wife got to the door first. She cracked it open 2 inches and said, "You need to leave now." Ava shoved her foot in the door before my wife could slam it. "I just need 5 minutes," she screeched. "Please. It's about Nate." That's when Nate himself came walking up the driveway, gym bag over his shoulder. He froze when he saw her. For a second, nobody moved. It was like some sick, silent standoff. Then Ava broke down. Full sobs, mascara running, whole 9 yards. She dropped to her knees on our porch, I'm not even exaggerating, and pulled out a white envelope from her hoodie. "Nate, please. Just read it. Just look." Nate didn't move, didn't blink, didn't say a damn word. I stepped between them and said, "Leave it on the ground and get the hell off my property." Ava looked up at me with the most hateful glare I've ever seen. But she dropped the envelope, stood up, and staggered back to her car. She sat there for a minute, engine idling, just staring at us. Then peeled out so hard she almost took down our mailbox. We waited until she was gone. Then Nate picked up the envelope. Inside, a pregnancy test. Positive. And a handwritten note. "It's yours. Please don't abandon our family." My wife gasped. I just stood there in disbelief. Nate? He laughed. Not a happy laugh. A bitter, hollow laugh like he couldn't even believe how far this mess had gone. He turned to me and said, "Dad, you already know, right? She's lying." And I did. Because we knew the timeline. We knew when the bachelorette party happened. We knew Nate hadn't touched her in almost a month before that night because he was crashing at a friend's place for work projects. There was no way in hell it was his kid, if there even was a kid. Still, we weren't taking any chances. Nate's lawyer got involved immediately, sent Ava a cease and desist letter demanding proof of pregnancy, medical records, and a DNA test if she actually gave birth. And Reddit, you better believe, the second she got that letter, she ghosted, deleted her Facebook, blocked Nate's number, disappeared. Poof. It was the most obvious fake pregnancy stunt I've ever seen in my life. She thought she could guilt trip him back, trap him, force a lifetime connection after being exposed. And when it didn't work, she ran. For a minute, it seemed like it was finally over. But no, because just when Nate thought he could start picking up the pieces, Ava's parents came swinging back with their own revenge. And their idea of payback made everything that happened so far look like a damn warm-up. 2 weeks after the fake pregnancy stunt, we got hit again, this time from a completely different angle. It started with a letter, certified mail, addressed to Nate. Inside, a formal demand for repayment. Ava's parents were suing Nate for emotional damages and financial losses related to the canceled wedding. You read that right. They wanted Nate to pay back every single penny they had spent, the catering, the flowers, the venue deposit, even Ava's custom-made wedding dress. Total, just over $46,000. I almost put my fist through the wall when I read it. It was pure insanity. Nate hadn't canceled the wedding for fun. He didn't cheat. He didn't disappear. He didn't break any contract. Ava did. But none of that mattered to her parents. They wanted someone to blame. And they sure as hell weren't going to blame their precious daughter. At first, Nate thought it was a joke. Then he realized, no, these people were dead serious. Their lawyer sent a letter to Nate's lawyer, basically painting him as some cold-hearted monster who publicly humiliated Ava and caused irreparable harm to her social and professional reputation. They even tried to claim that by showing the evidence publicly at the rehearsal dinner, Nate had committed defamation against Ava. It was the biggest pile of crap I've ever seen in my life. But guess what? Legally, you can sue anybody for anything, even if you have no real case, even if you're full of shit. And if you don't fight it, you lose by default. Nate's lawyer jumped on it fast, filed a response with all the evidence, the screenshots, the videos, witness statements, everything. They made it crystal clear Ava had caused her own downfall, and Nate had every right to defend himself. It should have been a slam dunk. But Ava's parents didn't care about winning. They wanted to drag it out, make Nate bleed money, make him suffer. Every time we thought it was over, they filed another motion, another request, another hearing. It went on for months. Meanwhile, Nate's savings started draining. Court fees, lawyer retainers, lost work hours, all because two bitter, delusional people couldn't accept that their perfect daughter wasn't so perfect after all. And Ava? She was nowhere. Not a call, not a message, not even a trashy subtweet. She vanished like a damn ghost and left her parents to do the dirty work. It would have been easy for Nate to cave, settle, pay a few grand just to make it stop. But he didn't. He dug in, told me, straight up, if they want a war, they're getting one. I'm not giving them a goddamn cent. And you know what? That stubbornness? It paid off. Because just when Ava's parents thought they had cornered him, someone showed up with evidence that turned the entire case on its head. Evidence that not only crushed their lawsuit, but exposed something even uglier about Ava and her whole damn family. The twist came from the last person we expected, one of Ava's own bridesmaids. Her name was Marcy. She and Ava had been friends since middle school, or at least they used to be. Out of the blue, Marcy contacted Nate's lawyer, asked for a meeting, said she couldn't live with it anymore. At first, we thought it was a setup, another trap. But when Marcy sat down at that conference table and pulled out a folder full of screenshots, messages, and voice recordings, it was clear she wasn't messing around. She laid it all out. Turns out, Ava and her parents had planned a lawsuit before the wedding was even officially canceled. Right after the rehearsal dinner meltdown, while Nate was still picking up the pieces, Ava and her parents had a family meeting where they agreed. If he exposes her, we'll make him pay for it. Marcy had been there. She recorded parts of it on her phone, secretly, because even back then, something about it felt dirty to her. And what she captured, game over. In one recording, Ava's dad literally said, "It doesn't matter if it's true or not. If we make his life hard enough, he'll fold." Another message from Ava to Marcy said, "I'm going to destroy him. I don't care if I have to lie. He deserves it for embarrassing me." Every nasty plan, every dirty tactic, laid out in black and white. Nate's lawyer took one look at the evidence and practically laughed. Within 48 hours, the case was nuked. Counterclaims were filed against Ava's parents for malicious prosecution and emotional distress. Not only were they going to lose, they were about to get absolutely hammered in court. Facing total destruction, Ava's parents folded. Fast, they withdrew their lawsuit, paid Nate's legal fees, and signed a gag order so tight they couldn't even whisper his name without risking another lawsuit. Just like that, boom, the war was over. And Ava? Still nowhere to be found. Total radio silence. No apology. No explanation. Not even a half-assed excuse. She just evaporated. Maybe she moved. Maybe she changed her name. Maybe she's still out there somewhere, telling people she's the victim. Who cares? Nate was free. Finally. It took almost a year. Thousands of dollars. Endless sleepless nights. But he walked away with his name clean, his pride intact, and every single snake in that nest exposed for what they were. You'd think this would be the end, right? But there's one last thing. One final twist that none of us saw coming. And it didn't involve Ava. It involved someone even closer to Nate than he ever realized. About 3 months after everything finally blew over, Nate started dating again. Cautiously. Slowly. Can you blame him? Trust doesn't grow back overnight after the kind of shitstorm he went through. One night, Nate invited Tyler, his best man, the one who helped him gather the evidence, over for a drink. Just to catch up. Relax. Try to feel normal again. They sat on the porch, trading old stories, laughing about dumb college stuff. Everything seemed good. Easy. Until Tyler dropped a bomb. He admitted that, months before the wedding, he had heard rumors about Ava cheating. Not just the night of the bachelorette party, way before that. A bartender they both knew had mentioned seeing Ava with other guys at the club multiple times. Hands where they shouldn't be. Whispers. Disappearances into dark corners. Tyler didn't tell Nate back then. He thought it was just club gossip. Didn't want to be the guy who ruined the wedding over rumors. Didn't want to lose his best friend if he was wrong. Nate sat there, silent, just letting that sink in. He didn't yell. Didn't throw his drink. Didn't storm off. He just nodded slowly and said, "Next time, don't protect me. I'd rather hear the ugly truth than live in a lie." And that, Reddit, is the real lesson. It's not just about being betrayed by the person you love. It's about the people around you who stay silent when they shouldn't. The people who think they're protecting you when they're really just helping you drown slower. Nate's good now. Better even. He's with someone real. Someone who actually shows up, tells the truth, and doesn't need a damn secret folder full of proof to be trusted. As for Ava, last I heard, she was bouncing from city to city, chasing jobs, chasing attention, blaming everyone but herself. Some people never change. And honestly, not our problem anymore. Nate walked through hell and came out stronger. Not because he wanted to, but because he had to. Life doesn't hand out easy lessons. It hands out brutal ones. And sometimes the best revenge is just surviving long enough to live a life better than they ever imagined without you.